welcome everyone to this Notice of Finding Technical Assistance session this morning. My name is Kirsten Bayer with the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support, and we are housed at Illinois State University. And I will be your moderator and your technical support for this session. So please feel free to reach out to me via the chat if you experience any technical difficulties today. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started with our presenter, Wendy Levy, this morning. I wanted to first ask that everyone be aware that this session is being recorded, and the recording and the presentation slides from today will be up on the Notice of Funding website within 48 hours on the Apprenticeship NOFO website. And I will put that website in the chat momentarily if you'd like to browse past technical assistance sessions or just bookmark the website for watching this recording and accessing the slides from this presentation at a later date. And so I'll put that in the chat momentarily here. And then I also wanted to ask everyone to please remember to keep yourself on mute. And we ask that you refrain from unmuting yourselves. And we ask that you prompt any questions, comments, or concerns in the chat. And this is due to, we just want to make sure we are offering accessibility and complete equity across the board. So we ask that you post all questions and comments and concerns in the chat, so that way we can keep a written documentation of it and be able to address your questions at this live session, but also address the same question that you might have that someone else might have on our FAQ on the website. And so to keep everything across the board even, we want to be sure that we do that and keep all of the questions in the chat. And then we do ask that if you have a question throughout the session, when you post that in the chat, we will be able to answer some of those live towards the end of the session during a live Q&A with our presenter for today. And with that, I believe that is all I have this morning. And so I'm going to hand it off to our presenter, Wendy Levy.
Great. Thank you so much, both to Kim and Kirsten, for inviting me to do this. I am Wendy Levy, the Executive Director of the Alliance for Media Arts and Culture. I speak to you today from the land of the Colville, Spokane, and Kalispel tribes in Spokane, Washington, where the Alliance for Media Arts and Culture is based. I am originally from Brooklyn, New York, lived most of my life in Oakland, California. The Alliance has a wonderful long-term member in Chicago, Free Spirit Media, who we work with very closely. And so as a national media arts service organization, the Alliance for Media Arts and Culture is the national program sponsor for Arts to Work, which is the first federally registered national apprenticeship program in media arts and creative technologies. So it's particularly exciting to be with you today and to be able to introduce this program across the state of Illinois. We're currently working in over 7 states, but we have members in 25 states across the country, and we are growing. And so over the course of the next hour, I'll introduce to you in as much detail as hopefully is relevant and necessary to be able to share Arts to Work with all of the stakeholders in Illinois so that we can build the program together. We consider Arts to Work a revolutionary blueprint for the future of work and a new model reform for the digital generation. As many of you, I'm sure, are aware, apprenticeship is not new in this country, but it has not yet hit scale. And in terms of non-traditional programs, we certainly are one. The proliferation of new apprenticeship programs is very heartening, but we are probably the biggest outlier thus far in the apprenticeship space. And we're excited to be able to grow the program, and now more than ever, because so many of our career pathways can be done remotely. We were some of the first fields to kind of get training online because that's where we work. Digital careers are very much born digital. And so the barriers to entry presented by the pandemic were just a little bit easier for us to kind of get over. We're still, of course, dealing with them because video production, media production is part of our world. But we're masking and following protocols. But on the post-production side, editors have been working remotely from teams for a very long time. So as you can see from this screenshot of our website, we really approach apprenticeship from an ecosystem place where you see at the top, you can engage with Arts to Work as an apprentice, as an employer, as a training center. So there's multiple points of entry. And while I don't know everyone who's on the call or who'll be listening to this, we'd like to think of us as we're a very nimble program. And we'd like to build from the perspective, of course, of the employer. Apprenticeships are employer driven. We know that we need to develop those relationships to be able to offer jobs to those traditionally underserved. But we also center the experience of the apprentice in very real ways. And something I need to share something about how we approach training and education, because so many apprenticeship programs are community college based, where the training is centered in the local community college. While we are partnered with numerous community colleges across the country, for the Alliance membership includes community-based media centers across the country. And those media centers, like Free Spirit Media in Chicago, have been training young people and communities and underserved folks for years, but have never had the benefits of registered apprenticeship. And so what Arts to Work offers is an infrastructure so that their high quality employer connected training can now be part of a registered apprenticeship ecosystem. And that's super exciting for us. And I think for the state of Illinois as well. So when creating Arts to Work, we realized that we'd have to disrupt multiple systems. We really do think of ourselves as we're not just here to train people and place them in jobs. Although, yes, that is the overarching model, but there's numerous barriers that we are set up to help face. So the systems that we disrupt first are the system that excludes creative careers from workforce development, because most of the people in workforce development, they think construction, manufacturing, healthcare, IT, but the idea of a creative workforce development program is still pretty radical. A few years ago, when we first got our registration, we did a tour of Capitol Hill, and we went from legislator to legislator, really with the goal of just getting them to say arts and jobs in the same sentence. And we're excited that that resulted in us getting approval from the U.S. Department of Labor as the first registered apprenticeship program for media arts and creative technology. So we also have to disrupt a system that prevents artists of color, low-income workers, women, youth, disabled, and veterans communities from accessing and advancing in media careers. We've all heard of Oscars So White and the Me Too movement. The media industry has a terrible reputation when it comes to providing real opportunities across the board. And we need to diversity is not just a box to check. And Arts to Work is a program that centers the needs and experiences of artists of color, women, low-income workers, and provides opportunity, equality, and access. And so we hope to be partners with all of our participating employers and those who have yet to participate, so that it is, yes, a vibrant jobs training program, but it's also for them a diversity pipeline that helps them walk the talk of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're also looking to disrupt a system that reserves internships for the privileged who can afford to work for free. That's something that is, talk about an epidemic in the media industry. It's based on unpaid internships that are really just aligned if you've gone to an elite college. are the only folks who were even eligible for those unpaid experiences. And we have to end that. And so the apprenticeship model offers an extraordinary opportunity for employers who want to improve diversity and equity and inclusion, excuse me, who want to really open up their pipelines and career pathways, but don't really have a model and a structure for how to do it. And so we're looking to end unpaid internships as part of how we set up the apprenticeship model. And then we also have to look at a system that persistently devalues or ignores the creative and economic contributions of artists in local, regional, and national economic development initiatives. Really, as many of us know, the arts are often relegated to a kind of nice to have thing, but non-essential. And we really step up into that. And there's all sorts of data that shows when artists are brought to the table, we are actually a catalyst for community revitalization. And that investing in artists' initiatives and creative initiatives builds economic vibrancy. And so we're looking to work with cities, communities, states, to make sure that the infrastructure exists, that when workforce development investments come down the pike, that your creative workers, your producers, your editors, your cinematographers, your directors, your storytellers have a voice at the table and can show you the benefit of creative education, creative work in the future of that community. So we're trying to do a lot, one step at a time. Something that we're very proud of this year, Arts to Work was one of the winners of the MIT Solve Challenge for reimagining pathways to employment in the United States. And this was significant because we're the only arts initiative, the only solution from the arts sector that has ever won the MIT Prize. And the MIT Prize provided a pilot program, the funding and the brain trust, to partner with a workforce board and start a program in a place that did not have one. And so we are in the midst of that model. We were paired with Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas, and we now have 14 pre-apprentices at work. And even before the program is over, those 14 folks have had paid job experiences and will be continuing their training. And we have employers at the table. We have $125,000 investment from MIT and New Profit, and it's a model that's working. And we are so excited to replicate that model in all of the cities across the country with the right partnerships at the table. And certainly everyone I've been speaking to in Illinois, it's some of the most wide-ranging, expansive, creative conversations of how we can bring media artists and digital media professions into the workforce conversation. And so I'm, of course, urging all potential partners and stakeholders to think about how media producers can add to the dreams and the vision of how we're going to really get out of the pandemic that we're in, to improve life in communities, to add opportunities to those traditionally marginalized. So the career pathways, so let's make it real now. The idea is that we call ourselves jobs for storytellers, but the idea that you can make a very good living as a digital media producer, there's very few parents that really start doing the happy dance when their kid comes to them and says they want to be a media producer. And so we're here to kind of dispel some of that and support really robust career pathways. Our first two pathways are for multimedia producers and digital video editors. A multimedia producer can produce any kind of content for any kind of screen, or no screen, because audio is also involved. So if you're making video, you're making television, movies, web website content, you're working for a news station, you're doing a podcast, any kind of content for any kind of screen. And video editors are the ones who are not in the production phase, but they're in the post-production phase. And they're the ones that put the story together using high-end technology. We focus on Adobe Premiere Pro as the technology that we train and certify in for video editors. And everyone across the board who participates in Arts to Work gets not only an Arts to Work certification, but also an industry standard certification from Adobe as an Adobe certified professional. And that is a job getter. Any on your resume and in your creative portfolio, if you're Adobe certified, you can get a job as an assistant editor, moving in and then moving up. So we're really grateful to Adobe for having invested over $1 million in Arts to Work, and maintaining their support by providing all of our Arts to Work training centers with free software. And so, because they know that investing in the next generation workforce is important. So there are new career pathways coming soon. We're working on pathways for graphic designers, game designers, and digital archivists. In graphic designer, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign are the technologies that are centered there. In game design, there's many different game design technologies, and we are partnered specifically with Epic Games that makes Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine now is in such high demand, not only in game design fields, but also in Hollywood post-production for animation. Epic recently did a training for editors who are already in the Hollywood industry to train them to as experts in Unreal Engine, because it's such a cutting edge and extraordinary piece of software. They got like 3,000 applications for 30 slots for that opportunity. And so game designer is right in there with some of the top in demand careers. And we're also developing a digital archivist, which, because we're all creating so much content and we're working so closely with nonprofit organizations across the country, the idea that we have to not only create this content, but we have to come up with strategies and methodologies for preserving that content and making it accessible to future generations. So museums and cultural institutions and arts institutions and journalism organizations and film and media production companies, everyone who's creating content should also be thinking about what their archive strategy is, and not just archiving for, putting behind a wall and paying for access to it, but this is the content of our collective culture. And we must be responsible in ways for doing that. So from the Library of Congress to the smallest community-based media organization, these are our collective stories that need to be archived. So these are the 3 job pathways that are coming soon. One thing I wanted to clarify about the kinds of employers who are hiring our producers and editors right now, they're not only from the arts industry. Yes, of course, our kind of core folks and low-hanging fruit are going to be media production companies, ad agencies, television producers, film producers, social media producers. But really, when you think about it, every company is a digital media company. Anyone who has presence online has a brand promise, and they must connect with their customers, their clients, their partners. They are in the storytelling business. So we have a number of apprentices working in Baltimore that are working for healthcare companies, creating animations that help doctors communicate treatment plans to their patients. We're doing telemedicine. We're creating podcasts. You go into a museum and now you can hold your phone up to a painting and get a story. Who's creating that content for museums in every city in this country? So there's so many job possibilities and so many opportunities to work within an Arts to Work framework, and so many tentacles into a variety of sectors, not only media arts. So moving on, and please do put questions in the chat. I'm really happy to, at the end of the presentation, to address as many questions as possible. Arts to Work provides new opportunities for industry-connected learning. In the past, many community colleges who are offering digital media job training or career training at colleges, community colleges, and our community-based media centers, there was a gap between the training piece of it and then what happened after the training. The relationships that needed to be formed were not there yet. And that provided for a lived experience like I had myself, where I went to film school, won some awards. I had lucky enough to have a film at Sundance, and then I waited tables for the next 15 years. And that's a reality in our industry that we can end. We can end it today, because now we have some opportunities where we can incentivize employers to hire folks that may not have as much on-the-job experience, but do have extraordinary creative training, certification in the technologies they need, and an ability to help that company be part of the new digital reality that we're in. So we have a pre-apprenticeship program in addition to registered apprenticeship. That is a 3-month full-time program, or can be extended to part-time 6 months, that prepares our young people and veterans and women returning to the workforce and disabled folks for creative careers. And we partner with community colleges for certificate training and our community-based media centers to train them, and they begin to meet their employers during pre-apprenticeship. And that provides less of a risk for those employers who still do have barriers to actually hiring, because it's a new program, they're unsure because of COVID, and this pre-apprenticeship provides an extraordinary opportunity for them to see these folks at work and to imagine them in their workplace. It's been extraordinarily successful for us. They also will come out of pre-apprenticeship with industry certification, and they have competency-based on-the-job training during both pre-apprenticeship and registered apprenticeship. It is what we've set up is a model where pre-apprenticeship leads directly to registered apprenticeship. All of our pre-apprenticeship programs, those participants become automatically eligible and are on a fast track during registered apprenticeship because they've already completed a subset of the competencies required in the registered apprenticeship program. They are interlocked, and we track our pre-apprentices in the same way as we track our registered apprentices. So we have an integral relationship there. We also provide mentorship, both at the pre-apprenticeship level and at the registered apprenticeship level, because often our employers, they are very busy doing what they're doing in the field, whether they're producing television or movies or social media or radio or journalism or corporate media. But often a young person coming into a new job situation wants to also learn about the entire industry. And so we provide industry mentorship, the Alliance as the national program sponsor. So if you're in a predominantly white company and you're making diversity real and you're hiring a group of BIPOC producers and editors, we help you provide the training and the mentorship that they can truly connect with and thrive in your company. So it's an extra added benefit where we can pull from 40 years in the industry and support a business to be able to reach their diversity goals. We provide equity labs for businesses and organizations, and we create an extraordinary peer network like you might get if you go to college, but without encumbering the six-figure debt, through our new National Endowment for the Arts funded Learning Hub, we create an alumni network where already our mentors are hiring our pre-apprentices. So we know it's like we have had a deep education in the workforce field over the last 5 years. And as we grow this program, we're realizing that we are creating a program to pass off to individual states. And we've started developing an Arts to Work state initiative because each state has different needs and requirements. In Georgia, where we're working, they're building like gangbusters. Georgia has invested $1 million in Arts to Work through the Arthur Blank Foundation to be able to build a 3-year model for apprenticeship because the employers need it and the industry is demanding it. So we see, it's like Illinois, we see you. And everyone we've been able to speak to in Illinois, from the film office to the apprenticeship office, from individual employers to nonprofit organizations, it's like Illinois is one of the most creative states around. And there is so much need for our really highly trained folks in the field. So please come to Arts to Work and use us. We can provide the program and really help build those pipelines that I think Illinois really needs. So here we are. What are the kind of important through lines for building the creative economy in Illinois? And something to know about Arts to Work in terms of what we believe. Startup organizations and creative businesses play a key role in creating jobs for artists. It's like we can't just, this notion of the starving artist needs to end. And the fact that artists don't want real jobs, this is not true. We have apprentices on the job in Baltimore, young men raising children who want a regular 9-to-5 job. They are eager to engage and to create, and they want some employment that has advancement possibilities in a creative business. And we really are here to say that those creative businesses, from science to technology, to arts, to sports, to journalism, to healthcare, we need to think about the role of digital media artists and storytellers across sectors. Policymakers, planners, and leaders in the arts right now are not aware of the role of the arts and cultural sector as an economic engine. And we believe that growing Arts to Work is the biggest way to show that. We actually have a congressional briefing coming up in Washington, D.C. in November, where this is going to be one of the biggest talking points, and how great it would be to have representation from Illinois to show how artists embedded in community really demonstrate extraordinary impact as an economic engine. We have the data, and apprenticeship to me is one of the most important added pieces here, because when you think about the arts, people often think about grant funding for an individual project, but that's not sustainable. You can give an artist a $10,000 grant to do a project, and they do it, and it helps support them, but mostly it pays expenses on the project for a short amount of time, and then they're out of work again. But creating these environments where they can have sustainable employment is beyond measure the most impactful model that we could offer. Media arts also, moving on, has been traditionally excluded from workforce development programs. And so this is the time where we are making sure that decision makers understand in workforce development that we have viable career pathways that are in the high 5 figures and 6 figures. And we also bridge the gap between STEM careers and STEAM careers. You add arts to it, yes, but our game designers and video editors, they are technologists, creative technologists. We've received funding from programs I ran previously, were funded by the National Science Foundation. So we are not only arts, even though we are primarily arts. Arts and technology go hand in hand and should not be excluded from workforce development programs. artists and arts organizations cannot increase their investment in workforce development because they rely on unsustainable and limited funding. So this is a call to help get arts organizations out of a project-based grant model and into a solid workforce development model. And this is going to take relationship building. And this is the kind of the navigator positions that many of, I hope, organizations on this call will want to take on. And the Alliance for Media Arts and Culture and the National Arts to Work program is here to help you. We have job developers on our end. We have strategists, we have operations directors that are here to work one-on-one with organizations who would like to be apprenticeship sponsors and navigators in Illinois. And we can't wait to partner with you. Arts organizations, critical to community resilience and revitalization. You fund an artist and all of a sudden an art center grows up in a place with an empty lot. We know that that's true. So how do we support organizations who can actually hire those artists to keep that work going? Unlike other industries with workforce development support, there's a lack of infrastructure to support creative entrepreneurs and arts organizations. In the arts to work world, we are training our apprentices, not just for hourly wage jobs in the creative industry, but we think of our arts to work apprentices as our next generation employers. We've been working with young people who not only want to go to work for Disney or Pixar or Warner or whatever company or Netflix or Amazon, they want to run their own studio one day. And so how do we think about building in entrepreneurship training where it was previously just job training? We're very interested in supporting those programs that are thinking in that way with us. Public-private partnerships, key to successfully supporting the creative economy. Our programs have been able to grow where private philanthropy has partnered with government grants to be able to build programs that lead to sustainable jobs for those traditionally excluded. And so in every state where we're working, this is what's happening. It's been a wonderful process in Illinois to gather together with these key partners. And however, we understand we're from out of state, but we have members in state, and however we can provide the assistance to build an arts to work network in Illinois, we are here. So as we talk about the visionary parts of the program, we know we always have to come back to convincing employers that this is the direction they want to go. It's not an easy ask. And so the benefits for business that we talk about, we make sure that they understand. But we need to be honest with each other at this point. The idea that they, instead of just hiring someone for a job they need to do, the idea of investing long-term in your workforce is an idea that's strange to many industry companies, but it's not strange to local industry in a way that it might be to the bigger Hollywood industry. So this is perfect in a state-by-state basis to really bring home the fact that an investment, paying for on-the-job training, investing in it, really takes the business from A to B. And we'd like to, at some point, if we can, try to find an employer network where we can bring construction employers to talk to media industry employers, because they report that for every dollar they invest in apprenticeship, they make back $1.50 to $2. Those numbers are real. And not only is it good for the bottom line, but it brings you that diversity you're looking for. Folks are more productive because you have grateful workers who understand how much they're growing and developing. Your turnover costs are less, and your employees come to you highly skilled, and then you build upon that. So we're talking to employers as our primary partners, and because the benefits for workers, believe me, they get it. We have a national application network, and we're working with folks in every state who are looking for jobs, and we're looking to help connect them with the jobs of their future. So I imagine most people on this call are already familiar with the components of registered apprenticeship. But we wanted to put them in here just in case, because there are training programs that are non-apprenticeship programs, and they are, of course, can be wildly impactful. But bringing apprenticeship to the table helps our folks in our network qualify for funding that they should have been eligible for years ago, but they never had the infrastructure of registered apprenticeship. And that's something that Arts to Work provides. We have the business involvement with employers everywhere. Since we won the MIT prize, what that did not only was give us the opportunity to build in Dallas, but it took us from us outreaching to employers everywhere, that all of a sudden our phone was ringing from Netflix, Stars, Lionsgate, all of these folks who we had been pursuing. Now all of a sudden were calling us because they heard about us, and they want what these programs offer. And so we're excited to bring national employers who are hiring folks in every state into this model, and to have them understand the benefits of registered apprenticeship. They get structured on the job training. Now, I'm also going to be honest here. Sometimes that structure is a barrier for some employers. They need to provide a mentor on the job in a way that it's atypical from what a traditional supervisor might do. This on the job training from an experienced mentor is, we certainly can provide that in pre-apprentice, but we require that of our employers, and we work with them closely hand in hand, and we provide the training for their staff so that they can create the conditions at work where apprentices can advance and thrive. That's what it takes from an organization who, I mean, the Alliance takes our responsibilities very, very seriously. So we are here to partner with any Illinois company or navigator or sponsor to be able to have new ways to work with employers. Related instruction. Apprenticeships combine on-the-job learning with technical education, as you all know. But because this is new to the media industry, we work our RTI in a combination of ways. Primarily now, we do our RTI online because during COVID, we had to, and because the Delta variant is providing new barriers and new restrictions that we all need to follow. And so we have partners at Bayvac Media in the Bay Area, with Coursera, with Sundance Collab, where we can provide our RTI in professional experiences online, both synchronous and asynchronous. And these are professional level courses. And so for us, the commitment is that our RTI not only provides the apprentice with incredibly industry standard skills that they can take back to their employer, but they also help provide a professional network to help them grow as an individual artist, practitioner, and professional in the field. So these are not just kind of blank online courses. We are committed to creating professional level workshops, access to industry professionals so that they continue to grow. The rewards for skill gains. This is a new thing that our employers are now really starting to embrace. Apprentices receive increase in wages as they gain higher skill levels. And it's been a very interesting conversation that we've been having with employers across the country. And we work together with them to make sure that the rules are followed, and that usually mid-year there's a salary increase and then another salary increase at the end of the apprenticeship year. And I can't tell you guys how many of our employers who want to participate, they're so used to interns coming in and leaving a few months later. They're like, well, what do we do after the apprenticeship year? And what do we tell them? But we say, you promote them into the job that they've been training to do. And even though they're hired from day one, that idea that they will have now continued support for their growth and employment is sometimes a new idea. And so it's been very exciting to help employers change their mindset and their understanding of what it means to invest in next generation workforce. And then finally, the National Occupational Credential. Registered apprenticeship programs result in a nationally recognized credential. And so we have provided, the Alliance, as a 40-year-old National Art Service organization, has that imprimatur, so employers know us, but we also make sure that they have an Adobe certified professional credential, which signals a technical and technological expertise in the field that can help companies become 21st century digital companies. Whether it's experience in, now that everybody is investigating virtual reality, augmented reality, machine learning, these are data-driven storytelling. We are all storytelling companies, and it's the arts to work apprentices that can really help bring companies to the next level. So here we are. We are looking to provide additional job pathways for multimedia producers, digital video editors, and very soon game designers, graphic designers, and digital archivists. We are hoping within Illinois that you all, everyone on this call, can help us build this conversation and deepen opportunities for both apprentices and emerging employer partners. This slide is kind of our talking points to those who are questioning how they're going to come in. We need to get folks to yes. We fill the critical skills gap in digital media and emerging technologies. This is key. Without this expertise, companies will be left by the wayside in jobs for the future. Everyone needs these skills. They may not even know they need them now, but they do. And how much they can expand their bottom line through hiring arts to work apprentices, people have to know this. Advancing STEM to STEAM, innovative, non-traditional apprenticeships. This is hard. Funding for our job pathways and our programs is consistently challenging because most of the folks who are deciding on the grants are from construction, manufacturing, traditional workforce. So we have work ahead of us for which we need partners to really help bring our jobs more into the center. And that's something we're really hoping that our congressional briefing can do. And we're happy to work at the state level, making presentations to elected officials and to other grant makers and to folks who are investing in this space to understand that digital media is now should be a core career track. We prioritize diversity and equity in the apprenticeship pool and creative workforce with special outreach to low-income workers, women, artists of color, youth, veterans, and disabled communities. This is a core part of Arts to Work, not something we add on when a NOFO requires it. And so we have equity experts who are part of Arts to Work staff, who are available for language development, for program development, for technical assistance, anything that you need that will center and prioritize diversity and equity in your program, we can help provide that for within our sector and beyond. We expand candidate and job readiness beyond entry level. So we have a program of advanced labs because we have found that incumbent workers have a hard time advancing because the companies they're stuck, and or folks that want to come into companies who are already trained still have barriers to entry because they've never worked for that company before. So we're developing advanced labs that provide exactly the skills that the employer needs. So if you have an employer that's ready to hire 5 producers, but they need XYZ technology, we have access to leading technologists across our sector for whatever skills that they require. That's how we came into Unreal Engine. That's how we came into Adobe. And so please don't hesitate to reach out if you have a sector of employers within digital media who say, but we need training in this. This is something that you can rely on Arts to Work for. We also improve ROI for employer-based training and provide subsidies to defray on-the-job learning costs. This is a big barrier for folks, and we are now starting to see grants coming down the pike that actually provide that they will cover on-the-job training costs, they will cover related instruction costs, and that makes a huge difference. In Maryland right now, where we have 3 apprentices on the job at one employer, they can now apply for salary subsidies, and that's huge. That we have already said, okay, 3 new apprentices for next year, because we can now get subsidies against their salaries. So whatever, we're here to help work employer to employer to help defray the on-the-job learning costs however we can. And that sometimes comes from really creative thinking and putting together multiple funding streams, because it is a confusing ecosystem out there. But we want to try to reduce those barriers to entry. We also create industry standards for employees and employers with qualification, skills assessments, and peer reviews. One way that we evaluate our standards, Arts to Work uses an apprentice evaluating app called OneFile. It's a UK-based company that is just getting started here. We think it's a brilliant model for assessing mastery of competencies across the board. Every one of our apprentices, pre-apprentices, and mentors have a OneFile where the mentors easily on their phone can go in when they see the mastery of a competency happening. They can go in and check it off. They can write a note. They can say they need more work in something, or they got this, check it off. So as an apprentice moves through the pipeline, we can adequately see how they're doing, what they still need work on, and if they're eligible for advancement. The other beautiful thing about it is that the apprentices can also evaluate their mentors, because we know that not everyone knows how to mentor, and that mentorship experience is crucial to a successful apprenticeship experience. And so we engage our apprentices who often have never felt that they've had a voice or agency at work to be able to give us feedback and to help us build a program that can really meet their needs. And then finally, providing an alternative to the culture of the disposable intern and repairing a broken system that marginalizes diverse voices. And that's one of the methods that we can use to actually do this, to make sure the Arts to Work staff at our level is 95% BIPOC. All of our consultants are Black, brown people who are connected to the communities we're designed to serve, women-led, LGBTQ. And so when people come into our system, wherever they're from, whatever their barriers, we have folks who are really designed and have been training on how to connect, how to build relationships with employers and training centers and apprentices themselves. And so here we are, a NOFO that's due in just a few weeks' time. We understand that Arts to Work may be too soon to try to create a program for this NOFO, but if there's anyone who's listening to this presentation who would like to bring Arts to Work in, we do have some grant language, we do have program models. If you have access to employers who would like to participate and think it could be competitive, we'd be really happy to advise, engage, to partner, and to build together. So thanks again for inviting me. Please let me know if there are any questions at all, and I'd be happy to entertain either on this call or afterwards.
Great. Thank you so much, Wendy. We do have one question, and we have about 10 minutes here. So the first question is, have you had any success in rural areas with this model?
In rural areas, that is a great question, and we certainly have rural areas in our forecast. But right now, as you can imagine, we are based in cities because that's where our training centers are. But there are surrounding our programs in Miami, Dallas, and Atlanta. We are now developing strategies for reaching the the folks who are in the rural areas. And here in Spokane as well, we're planning a statewide initiative that includes rural areas and Native American territories from the beginning. And that is largely due to the proliferation of high quality training programs online. And so we it's a matter of making sure we have employers that are looking to hire remote workers, but we have an absolute commitment moving forward to be developing those programs in rural areas. And we do have training centers who are offering online training. So if there are any folks from rural areas on this call, please do reach out because we'll be happy to invest and help develop opportunities there.
Great, thank you so much, Wendy.
You bet.
Have you worked with high school to develop programs of study with an apprenticeship component?
Yeah, we have actually started, we've had conversations with the Los Angeles Unified School District, and with high schools in New York and Atlanta. Um, it's exciting to think about starting pre-apprenticeship in high school and even middle school. So we've also talked to the school districts here in Spokane as well. The big the big caveat is being able to bring the program through, depending on when they engage, to make sure that the training and the employers are ready for the kind of supervision and context building and work that high schoolers can do within the timeframes that they can do it. But absolutely, our middle school program has a model of what we're calling creative studios that we are currently searching for the initial funding for our first creative studio model. I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to say where it is, but it's the idea where we actually go in with a community media center or middle school and create an arts to work creative studio that has a digital lab, a stage, lighting equipment, camera equipment, all the things that, as well as tables with drawing materials, all sorts of arts and craft stuff, so that it's a space where people can come and develop their digital preparedness and their creativity a little bit separate from the work pipeline, but it creates a fluency in the technology. And we have trainings in there and all of that. And so we're looking to kind of start to build the pipeline even as early as middle school. And we found that we have had a couple of high school seniors in our program already and are very eager to connect with any high school districts that are currently offering some digital media training, and we can help build upon that and are happy to bring our employer networks into that space.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wendy.
You bet.
I don't see any other questions in the chat, but I wanted to give everyone an opportunity, just a couple more minutes to ask any if you have some. And while you are thinking on any questions you might have, I wanted to reiterate that this session was recorded and the recording from today and the PowerPoint slide deck will be up on the Apprenticeship Notice of Funding website within 48 hours of today's recorded session. I also went ahead and put the PowerPoint slide deck that Wendy was presenting from today in a PDF format within the chat. So if you would like to go ahead and directly download that right now for your accessibility at a later date, then feel free to do so. And I don't have anything else. We have a thank you to you, Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. Great information. I will be following up with this and forwarding it to some local arts councils and other possible interested parties.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. We can't wait for Illinois to become an arts to work state. That is for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wendy, for your time this morning. Thank you to everyone for joining us and your time as well. And everyone have a great rest of your Thursday.
Bye now.